Welcome to this week's episode of the Rutledge Perspective. And today we're talking about curiosity. And I've always been a really curious person. I love to learn. If you saw one of my memes way earlier, I said, if you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're stagnating. And if you're stagnating, you're dying. And so for me, that constant learning, that constantly being curious about things is a way of life. Well, you're seeing more and more organizations talk about curiosity. It's more in value statements. We want to hire people who are curious because curiosity helps with innovation. And it sounds really good. But curiosity is also one of those competencies or one of those values that can easily become a weapon. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So Harvard Business Review just did a big article around curiosity and talking about how curiosity actually has a really big part in the profitability and the efficiency of an organization. And how kind of the 5 pieces of curiosity and the 5 dimensions of curiosity really play into how people operate every day. So if you think about when you go to work and how you're interacting with people, curiosity isn't just about, I want to understand what's going on in this meeting. Curiosity runs the gamut from, I want to understand how my company operates, all the way to, I really want to understand my colleagues. And the research says that the more curious you are, and the employees that are most curious are the ones that tend to be more collaborative because they really do show a level of empathy and a level of wanting to have respect and understanding for the other person, which enables an opportunity to collaborate better. So when you think about curiosity, curiosity is not just asking questions to ask questions. Curiosity is about a deep-seated desire to understand and a deep-seated desire to connect with the other person and to connect with the process or the issue at hand. So to get back to this issue of curiosity as a weapon, when people think about, we want an organization that's more curious because that means they're more innovative. In order to be curious, you ask questions. And when you ask questions, you sometimes ask questions about things that may be those political landmines, those things that are the sacred cows for the organization. You just don't question how we do X, Y, Z because we've always done it that way, which is one of my pet peeves, by the way. So when you see people who are really curious and they constantly ask questions, watch the people around them. How does the organization respond to those questions? Do they respond with, that's a really good question, we should think about that? Or do they respond with, here they go again, asking all those questions? That's a telltale sign of whether the organization is truly wanting people who are curious, because those questions will get to the heart of someone else's idea. And even those who are curious, if you're truly curious and have lots of empathy, you can understand and read the body language of the person that you are asking questions of and note where you're starting to touch on something that's pretty sensitive for them because they've got their whole ego or their whole person tied up in the decision that was made. So those who ask questions should also have a level of understanding of what they're getting into. But those who are running an organization that they want to be curious and they want an organization that moves forward really need to think through, how am I responding to the person's questions? It can become a weapon in that from an employer's perspective, they can say, yeah, they were supposed to be curious, but all we saw is them just asking more questions, and we never got anything done. We never got to an answer. So that's not curious. That's just someone who's trying to stop the progress. On an employee side, that employee who may not really be curious, but really is that person who just wants to stop progress, either they just don't want to do the work or they just don't agree, will start asking questions over and over. And every time they're in a meeting, they're the person who stops the process because they've got 400 questions. But their questions come from a standpoint of, I just don't want to do this. And that person will use it as a weapon to say, see, you say you want us to be curious, but I ask questions and then you get mad. So for organizations and for individuals, when you start thinking about curiosity and being curious and wanting to really understand and wanting to participate and uplift and impact, really make sure that the position from which you are asking your questions is one that is forward-looking and forward-thinking. You also have to have a level of vulnerability to be curious, being willing to say, I don't know, or I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? And then go on almost a Socratic method, kind of, why? Why are we asking this? The 5 whys of the Toyota method, right? Why are we asking this? Why are we doing this? I really don't understand. Can we ask why one more time? Curiosity is a powerful thing. It is powerful for the person who's curious. It is powerful for the organization who has curious people. And everything that is a strength when taken to an extreme, can become a weakness. So think through the processes you're doing every day, the interactions that you're having every day, the questions that you ask every day. Are you asking them to understand, or are you asking them to put the other person on their heels, to put the other person at a disadvantage? And only you know the answer to that. Leaders, you in particular need to know the real answer to that question, because you set the tone for the culture of the organization. And that's the Rutledge perspective for today. So the question I have for you is, 1, are you curious? Now, if the answer to that is no, okay. But hopefully the answer to that is yes. And the second question is, how are you asking your curious questions? How are you interacting with people? And are you listening and understanding when you ask the question? Please leave your comments below. I really want to understand what you've done and how curious you are. And your comments may help someone else who is in that position right now and struggling to be curious or struggling to ask questions in a way that show curiosity as opposed to belligerence. Now, you can see a replay of this video. You can read the longer blog or listen to the podcast if you visit my website, laurelrutledge.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for visiting my village. I am so excited that you did, and I'm truly humbled you chose to spend some of your time with me. If this or another episode of the Rutledge Perspective spoke to you, please give us a great rating. And please leave your comments, as I want to know your perspective on this topic. Your comments form the basis for continuous improvement and additional content, and I take them very seriously. You can find more information on episodes of the show or book a discovery call with me on laurelrutledge.com. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Oh, and if there's someone you think would enjoy or benefit from the Rutledge perspective, please pass it along.